The morning I came home from the hospital, I noticed he had rearranged the living room. That was the first thing I saw. Not my husband's face at the door, not flowers on the counter. The couch had been pushed to the left, and the coffee table was angled differently, and there was a new throw pillow I didn't recognize sitting in the corner like it belonged there. I had been gone 11 days. 11 days in a hospital bed after emergency surgery to remove a tumor from my left ovary. Stage 1, the surgeon said. Caught early. You're lucky. And I remember lying there thinking, yes, I am. I am so lucky. My husband had been there the first 2 days, brought me a smoothie, sat in the chair beside my bed, held my hand when the IV burned going in. He told me not to worry about anything. He said, I've got everything handled at home. He did not tell me he had redecorated. My name is Serena. I'm 31 years old. 8 months ago, I thought I was living a good life. Not perfect. Nobody's is, but good. I had a job I loved as a pediatric occupational therapist. I had an apartment with big windows and a view of the park. I had a husband named Fletcher, who I had met at a mutual friend's birthday dinner 5 years ago, and who had a smile that made me feel genuinely like everything was going to be okay. I want to remember him that way sometimes. The dinner party smile. The smoothie on day 2. But I can't talk about any of that without starting here, in the hospital parking lot on a Tuesday afternoon in March, sitting in the passenger seat of my brother's truck because Fletcher had said he was stuck in a meeting that ran long. My brother's name is Griffin. He's 36, works in corporate law, and has not once in his adult life been described as warm. He is precise and quiet and the kind of person who reads lease agreements for fun. But when I called him from the discharge nurse's desk and told him Fletcher wasn't coming, Griffin just said, I'm already in the car. He didn't say anything else about it. Not in the parking lot, not on the highway, not when we pulled up to my building and he carried my bag upstairs. He helped me to the couch, the rearranged one, and he went to the kitchen and made me toast because that's what I could eat. And he sat across from me and just waited. He moved the furniture, I said. Griffin looked around the room. Yeah, he didn't tell me. No, I ate the toast. I didn't cry. I think I was still too tired to cry. The surgery had been textbook, the surgeon said, but my body didn't know that. I felt like I had been wrung out and left on a line somewhere. There's a new pillow, I said. Griffin looked at it. It's ugly. That made me laugh. Just a small one. But it was something. Fletcher came home at 7 that evening with Thai food and an apology about the meeting, and I want to be clear that I believed him. That is the thing I keep coming back to, even now. How much I believed him, how naturally it came, how little I questioned it. He kissed my forehead and set the bags on the counter and asked how I was feeling, and I said tired, and he said of course, of course. And then he told me he had rearranged the living room because he thought it might be better for me to have more space to move around while I recovered. That was thoughtful. That was the thing that made it confusing for so long. So much of what he did was thoughtful. Or it looked like it. I healed slowly. The tumor was gone, but the recovery was hard. I had to take 6 weeks off work, which killed me because I love my kids and I love my job, and sitting still has never come naturally to me. Fletcher was attentive the first week. He picked up my prescriptions. He made dinners. He asked me every morning how I was feeling. Then week 2, he started working late. I didn't think anything of it. He's in real estate development. There are always deals closing, always clients calling, always something pulling him out of the house at 7 in the morning and bringing him home at 9 at night. That's just how it had always been, and I had made peace with it years ago. You marry someone's life, not just their weekends. But week 3, I started noticing things. Small things at first. His gym bag smelled like a different detergent. There was a restaurant charge on our joint credit card for a place I'd never heard of, on a Thursday night when he told me he was in a client dinner across town. The charge was for 2 people. The restaurant was 12 minutes from our apartment. I told myself I was being paranoid. I had just been through a surgery. I was on painkillers that made me strange and slow. My therapist had warned me that recovery could make you hyper-vigilant, could make you read meaning into ordinary things. So I put it down. I set it aside. I chose to trust him. That was week 3. In week 5, I found the second phone. I wasn't looking for it. I was reaching for the charger on his nightstand. Mine had stopped working and his was the same model. and the drawer slid open a little too far, and there it was. A black phone in a black case, simple and plain and utterly invisible unless you knew to look. I picked it up. It wasn't locked. I don't know how long I sat there on the edge of our bed, long enough that the light changed, long enough that my legs went numb. I didn't read everything, I couldn't, but I read enough to know that her name was Daphne, that they had been talking every day for at least 4 months, that 3 of those months had been while I was working toward a promotion I'd just gotten, and 1 of them had been while I was recovering from surgery in the apartment we shared. I read the message he sent the night he picked up my prescriptions. She's home now. Can't talk. But I'm thinking about you. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. I closed the drawer. I went to the bathroom and ran cold water over my hands until they stopped shaking. Then I sat on the bathroom floor for a while. Then I called Griffin. Griffin did not yell. That surprised me. He listened to everything I said, and I said a lot. I talked for almost 40 minutes. I told him about the restaurant charge and the detergent and the phone and the message, and when I was done, he was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "Okay, don't do anything yet." "I need to talk to him," I said. "You will, but not yet. Give me 48 hours. I didn't know what he meant. I thought he was just trying to slow me down, which is what Griffin has always done when I'm spinning out. But it wasn't that. It was something else entirely. Fletcher came home at 8:30 that night with flowers, pink ones, peonies, which are my favorite and which he knows because I've told him 100 times. He handed them to me and said he was sorry he'd been so absent lately. That the Hargrove project had been eating him alive. That things would settle down soon. I put the peonies in a vase. I ate dinner. I watched television beside him on the rearranged couch, and I did not say one word about the phone. The next morning, after he left for work, Griffin came over. He sat down at my kitchen table and opened his laptop, and he walked me through everything he'd found in 48 hours. I don't fully understand how he found it. He mentioned a contact, a forensic accountant, a few other words I couldn't track. But what he laid out in front of me was this. Fletcher had opened a credit account in my name 14 months ago. Not a joint account. My name, my social security number, my credit, without my knowledge or signature. He had run up $42,000 on it. He had also listed himself as a beneficiary on a life insurance policy I didn't know I had, through a broker I had never contacted, using my employment information. I had just had surgery to remove a tumor. I sat with that for a long time. "He needed you to stay sick," Griffin said quietly, "or he needed you not to notice. Either way, he was building something that only worked if you weren't paying attention. How did you find all this? You'd be amazed what's findable when you know what to look for." He paused. "I called Dad. Our father is 63 and retired and plays golf 3 times a week and looks exactly like someone's kindly grandfather. He is also the former managing partner of a white shoe law firm who has more connections in this city than most people have acquaintances. He had not, apparently, liked Fletcher from the beginning. He had simply never said so, because I was happy and he respected that. He was not being quiet anymore. I confronted Fletcher on a Friday evening. I want to be clear, I did not plan it the way I'd imagined. I had pictured something dramatic, something where I said sharp, perfect things and he crumbled in the right way. It wasn't like that. He came home to find me sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water and a manila folder that Griffin had put together. He looked at me and he knew immediately. I saw it cross his face. Not guilt, exactly. Something more like calculation. The smile went first. "Serena, sit down," I said. He sat. "I found the phone," I said. "I know about Daphne. I also know about the credit account." I pushed the folder toward him. "And the insurance policy." He was quiet for a moment. Then he did something I didn't expect. He reached for my hand. "I can explain all of this," he said. His voice was soft. It was the dinner party voice, the smoothie on day 2 voice. "The account was a mistake. It was supposed to be a joint account and the paperwork got mixed up. I should have caught it." "The policy," I said. A beat of silence. "The policy was, stop." I pulled my hand back. "My brother is a corporate attorney. My father spent 30 years in family and civil law. Whatever you were going to say, I need you to understand that it has already been reviewed by people who do this for a living. He looked at me differently then, not with the soft voice anymore. "What do you want?" he said. "I want you to leave tonight. I want your name off my credit report. I want to understand exactly what you did and exactly how you're going to fix it, and then I want to not see you again." He looked around the apartment. The rearranged furniture, the ugly pillow he had chosen. "I have things here," he said. "Griffin is outside," I said. "He'll help you with your things." I don't know what he thought Griffin was there for, but he went to the window and looked down, and Griffin's car was there, parked right in front. And I think something about seeing it, just the car, just the fact of it changed the calculation for Fletcher. He didn't say anything else. He went to the bedroom, and I sat at the table and listened to him move around for 25 minutes, and then he came back through with a duffel bag and he stopped in the doorway. "I did love you," he said. "In the beginning. I want you to know that." I didn't say anything. He left. I cried that night. I want to be honest about that. I cried for a long time, and it wasn't just about Fletcher. It was about the version of my life I'd thought I was living, the promotion I worked so hard for, the apartment with the big windows, the idea that things had been going well, that I was building something real. Grief is strange when the thing you're losing was partly a lie. You still mourn it. The lie still had your fingerprints on it. Griffin stayed until midnight. He didn't try to make me feel better. He just made more toast and kept me company, and at one point he said, "You caught it. That's the thing. You caught it." My dad called at 11. He said he'd had his attorney send Fletcher a letter that evening. He said the credit fraud was being escalated through the proper channels and that the insurance policy situation was being looked at closely and that Fletcher should expect an uncomfortable few months. "Are you okay?" my dad asked. "Not really," I said. "That's the right answer," he said. "I'll come Sunday, we'll have lunch." The next few months were not simple or neat. There's no clean montage for it. The credit account took 4 months to fully dispute and resolve. The insurance policy was terminated and Fletcher's name removed. But the investigation into how it was set up in the first place is still ongoing. My attorney, a woman named Celeste, whom my father recommended and who radiates the specific energy of someone who has never lost an argument, filed a civil suit for fraud that is still in process. Fletcher did not handle it gracefully. There were several messages, some long and explanatory, some short and hostile. Celeste responded to the ones that required a response. I stopped reading them after the 3rd week. Daphne, for what it's worth, ended things with him within the month. I heard this through a mutual friend and felt exactly nothing about it. I went back to work 8 weeks after surgery, which my doctor said was maybe a week early, but which I needed badly. My kids were happy to see me. One of them, a little boy named Eli, who is 7 and has sensory processing challenges and the most earnest face I've ever seen, made me a card that said, "Welcome back. Miss Serena, we missed you." I kept it on my desk. I moved the couch back to where it used to be. I threw away the pillow. There is a thing that happens when you come out the other side of something like this. People want it to be a lesson. They want the story to have a shape that makes sense. Betrayal, survival, wisdom, growth. They ask, "What did you learn?" like there's supposed to be a clean answer. Here's what I actually learned. I learned that I had people. My brother, who drove without hesitation. My father, who had been paying attention even when I wasn't. Colleagues who covered my caseload without complaint. Friends who brought food and didn't ask for the whole story until I was ready to give it. I learned that I am harder to break than I thought. I learned that a tumor caught early is a very different thing from a tumor caught late, and that the same is true of a person who will hollow out your life from the inside. The catching early is everything. I also learned that grief and relief can exist at the same time, in the same body on the same Tuesday afternoon. I learned that you can love the version of a person you thought you were married to and still be completely, absolutely done with who they actually were. Fletcher's case is still moving through the system. His real estate license is under review. The $42,000 is being recovered in pieces, slowly, the way these things go. I am not the person I was before the surgery. I think that would be true regardless. Something about lying in a hospital bed and having a surgeon reach inside you and take something out changes your relationship with your own body, your own time, your own patience for things that aren't working. But I'm okay. Actually okay, not just saying it okay. I got a new couch. It's green, I picked it out myself. My dad came for lunch last Sunday and Griffin came too. And we sat in my apartment with the big windows and the view of the park and ate sandwiches. And at some point my dad looked around the room and said, "This is a good apartment, Serena." And I said, "Yeah, it is." And I meant it. I've thought a lot about the drawer. Not the phone inside it, the act of reaching for it. How ordinary it was. I just needed a charger. My hands weren't shaking when I opened it. I wasn't suspicious, wasn't bracing for anything. I was just a woman 11 days out of surgery, tired, reaching across a nightstand for something that plugged into a wall. And then everything changed. I think about that moment when people ask me how I figured it out, as if I were some kind of detective, as if there was a plan. There wasn't. There was just a drawer that opened too wide. Which makes me think that most of the things that unravel our lives aren't uncovered through brilliance. They're uncovered through ordinary Tuesday afternoons when we're not even looking. Fletcher made a choice. He made it once, and then he made it again, and then he kept making it, quietly for over a year, and every single choice had a weight he either didn't understand or didn't care about. That's the thing that still gets me, not the betrayal itself, but the accumulation of it. The credit account. The insurance policy. The messages sent from our bedroom while I was sleeping off anesthesia in the next room. Each one a small decision. Each one a brick in something he was building that I had no idea existed. And here's what I've come to understand about that. It caught up to him not because the universe intervened, not because some outside force decided to balance the scales, but because he got sloppy and because I had people who were paying attention. And because the kind of life you build on someone else's foundation eventually shows the cracks. Griffin drove without hesitation. My father had been watching quietly for years. Celeste walked into that situation and never once looked uncertain. None of that was luck. That was a lifetime of people showing up quietly, consistently, without being asked. Because that's what integrity looks like in practice. Not speeches. Not grand gestures. Just showing up with the car keys and making toast. I spent a long time being angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, for believing him about the meeting that ran long, for putting down the restaurant receipt and choosing trust over instinct. But I've stopped doing that mostly, because the truth is, the willingness to trust someone, to extend good faith, to believe that the person beside you in bed is who they say they are, that's not naivety. That's not weakness. That is the basic requirement for loving anyone at all. Fletcher used that against me. That's on him, not on me. What I've learned, and I mean actually learned, not the inspirational poster version, is that resilience isn't a feeling. It doesn't feel like strength when you're sitting on a bathroom floor with cold water still on your hands. It just feels like the next breath, and then the next one, and then somehow you're making a phone call, and then you're sitting across from your brother while he opens a laptop, and then you're looking a man in the eyes and telling him to leave. And none of it felt brave in the moment. It just felt like the only direction left to move. I got a green couch, I went back to my kids at work. Eli made me a card. That's it. That's the whole ending. It's not cinematic, but it's mine, and I built it myself on a foundation that nobody can open a credit account against. That's enough.